So, so the Facebook Live is getting set up right now. So let me just kick it off. So I'm Greg Tanaka. I'm on the Palo Alto City Council. Thank you for everyone for taking time out of your weekend to join me on this discussion. This is actually the fourth discussion I'm having on this topic. So it's something that I've I've had numerous conversations on. There have been a ton of people who have been emailing in as well as calling in to City Council meeting. It's something which I actually brought up several times, um, but it looks like it's starting to happen. So on Monday, there's going to be a discussion with some of the business groups in each of these areas to see, whether it makes sense to move forward or not. So I'd like to give everyone an opportunity to first briefly introduce themselves as well as maybe speak a few words on their thoughts about this idea. So maybe we'll start off with Fritz, followed by Jerome, or Jay, sorry. Fritz, do you want to start off first?
Yeah, hey, my name's Fritz Bindel, and should we tell about why we got approached to be here, and if you have
Sure.
a
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
I've been a long time a patron of downtown Palo Alto, from business meetings to just personal. That's where I like to go, and I go to Cafe Venezia a lot. And I have to be honest, Cafe Venezia, which used to be Cafe del Doge, sent out and said, "Hey, we have this. We would really like to have University Avenue opened up to foot traffic, and if you agree, would you support us?" And so I wrote a letter, and I'm surprised actually that I'm here. I don't have any special expertise, except maybe I had some good thoughts. And there are obviously problems I can see for some businesses and for traffic. But on the whole, I think if you look at it, like I compared it to Germany, where they call it the Fußgänger zone, which is the foot going zone, literally. It just makes so much sense, and especially right now. And this idea has been brought forward. And if you look at when the Tour de France had the stage there, if you look at all the Palo Alto arts and crafts festivals, you just almost can't, it doesn't make sense why you wouldn't try it, especially in the limited one block here, one block there. And right now, you're not going to have a traffic issue. You almost can't lose, and the businesses seem to be dying for it. And it seems the only way to, I'll wrap it up real quick. I see potential, you have a potential for everything to die. These businesses are closing, they're going out of business. Let's give people a shot. That would be the way I would conclude that from an economics point of view. And we can address how it would look, the look and feel later with other people.
Thank you, Fritz. Okay, so let's Jerome and then Ronald. Go.
Sure.
Okay,
Hi,
sorry.
I'm Jay Dulick. I moved out here to Palo Alto in 1982 to come to Stanford. Never moved away. I'm an engineer working in Silicon Valley. I bet my wife and I eat out at a Palo Alto restaurant about twice a week, historically, and we're traumatized by the restaurants being closed. It's just something that we've grown so accustomed to having as part of our lives that we feel that it's a big hole now. My wife's a great cook, but I got to tell you, there's something about going out to a nice restaurant that I just enjoy and I love. I think that Palo Alto's got an opportunity to take a leadership role in how to deal with this as a city, and how to keep our downtown vibrant and alive during this very trying period. I think that when I look at the Art and Wine Festival, we closed down basically the whole stretch of the street. Something analogous to that, I think, would work. I think that since offices are basically shut down in the area, I believe we will not have any kind of parking issue by having the whole stretch of University Avenue shut down too, because there just aren't people coming to use the parking spaces as in normal time. So I don't think that will be an issue. And so I'm very, very much in favor of shutting down University Avenue to give our restaurants opportunity to set up tables that span the entire width of the street and the length of the street too. I think we should open up to all the restaurants that are they're within a block or two. If they're willing to cart their food a block or two, then I think they should have opportunity to get a shot at making this work for them. I'd hate to leave out a restaurant just because, oh, they were on the other side of the street, or they were, more than 100, more than 20 feet away, or whatever rule it is. So I'd like to see it opened up to all the restaurants in the area. And I'm a big believer that we can make this work. I think it would be good for the city and good for our community and good for our businesses.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Ronald, followed by Daniel.
Sure. So I'll just say a few things, and my wife can chime in, Ellen, if she wants. Like Jay, we're longtime supporters of the Palo Alto restaurants. We eat out frequently, and we've been eating home obviously a lot more recently. But we would very much like to see our restaurants survive and come back as much as possible. So that's why we're very supportive of whatever we can do to really get the restaurants up and running again. There's two things that we were thinking about. One is parklets, and the other is just shutting down the whole area. And in terms of parklets, we've seen other cities be pretty successful in creating those on side streets in particular. I'm not obviously a traffic engineer or know exactly how much traffic would be affected one way or the other. Right now, it doesn't seem to be a big deal, but we would very much like to see something even longer term that would allow restaurants to really do a better business than necessarily charging as much as they're charging. They do charge a lot of money these days. I mean, $28, $30 for a plate of pasta seems a lot, but so we're supporters of them, but we want to see things come forward that will let them really survive and do well.
In particular, as we were walking around, we did notice how many restaurants are on the side streets, like on Bryant, Ramona, Emerson. And I don't know how it would work, but if you shut down University Ave, I don't know if there would be cross streets, that there could be some cross traffic, but I'm kind of curious, could some of those streets be turned into one way? So you could open up spaces on the side streets as well in a parklet. You don't have to take out all the parking necessarily, but like Ron said, we're not traffic engineers, but it seems like some critical thinking could find a way to make some use of those, taking out a few parking spaces and giving them a chance to spread out more.
Thank you. Daniel, followed by Maria.
Hi, my name is Dan Marshall. I've lived in the Palo Alto area for about 30 years, and my immediate concern is that we have a lot of businesses and companies that are really in trouble, and if we don't do something that is unique and creative, we're going to have a lot of businesses that are going to go out of and we won't have the services in Palo Alto, and so there's going to be a lower percent of traffic, at least for the next year or two. I'd say it's closer to probably 2 years. And so we've got to figure out a way to traffic in the restaurants. I mean, we've got to figure out a way to help these people along for the next couple of years. And so I love the idea, and I'll echo the points that Jay made, and that was, it'd be great to being Palo Alto, it'd be great to be a leader in this. I love the idea of closing off the whole street. It's a great idea. I'd like to see it long-term, like what the woman said earlier, what are the traffic issues there? My wife and I were on a walk this morning. We said, well, can't we build more parking, at the MacArthur Park area or something like that? Anyway, I think there's a number of different things we can do, but I think the primary concern right now is life support for these businesses that are out there. So I think that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Maria, followed by Richard.
Hi, Maria Foley here, and I agree with everything that everybody has said so far. I think it's a great opportunity to just do a trial run to shut down. Well, for me, it's not just University Avenue. I also frequent California Avenue a great deal, so I'd like to see California Avenue shut down or partially shut down so the restaurants could spread out. I don't know if that's on the agenda for this meeting or
Oh,
not.
it's for both California and university.
Okay,
Please.
so yeah, so for me, California is probably more used by me than University Avenue, but you know, it's successful in other cities. It's enjoyable. It's a good ambiance for the community. It helps the restaurants. It's an opportunity now that we have to trial run this to see if it's something that would be appropriate full time. I think the issues can be worked out.
Okay, thank you. So Richard, followed by Sally.
Hi, my name is Richard Stolle. I've been on the College Chairs Residential Association for a number of years. I'm not now, and have frequented California Avenue restaurants for 35 years. And so I think this is, again, to echo whatever everybody else is saying, this is a great opportunity. And I see it as a win-win. I don't think we can possibly lose out by closing off the streets where restaurants are, not just Cal Ave University, but other streets in downtown Palo Alto. And even if it was to make them one-way streets so that there is more room, but obviously the restaurants can't possibly survive with just a few seats inside. And so I think the outside eating areas are essential to make this thing work. And I think now is an opportunity, and maybe we'll learn something from it in terms of the future, maybe having one-way streets, maybe opening up parking areas for more outside tables. But we are a restaurant town, so let's show it.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Sally, followed by Todd.
Yeah, sure. I would echo what everybody else said. I think like to try to make lemonade out of lemons or whatever seems like the way I'm thinking about it. And it seems like the objection typically under normal situation would be like, well, where's all that traffic going to go? And right now, anybody who walks down anywhere in the either neighborhood, you just don't see very many cars, period. So I think we have kind of a nice grace period to kind of try this out without all the negative impact. And we could just kind of measure and see how it goes. And I would definitely vote for full closure. I think people with kids, you know, having an area that's outdoor friendly for kids is like a big pain point right now. Eventually, hopefully the parks will open back up, but I know there's parents who are just kind of losing their mind inside their house right now. And so having just another option to kind of take their kids, you know, without worrying about little kids running into the street or whatever, would be a nice thing. And then as somebody else said, I mean, you could do it for a limited period of time and then just kind of revisit like the cost and the benefit for longer term.
Thank you, Sally. Todd.
Hey, Greg, thanks for doing this. And by the way, thanks for having these meetings. This is really quite useful for all of us to give you our input. I actually live on California Avenue. Last week when we did this meeting, I actually switched to my phone and walked outside on California Avenue to give my own demonstration of traffic. I don't know, Maiko just joined. I don't know if he's on Cal Ave right now, but he can kind of show traffic. When we renovated California Avenue a number of years ago, being a homeowner on California Avenue, I was quite excited that we were going to renovate a street that was really kind of dilapidated, hadn't really been touched. And the opponents mostly had really kind of bizarre arguments, mostly around traffic. And it turns out that after years, somebody, Maiko, you might need to mute. I think he's muted. Thank you. The opponents were on traffic. And we don't have traffic right now because nobody's going out. And we don't know when traffic will get back to what it was like pre-corona. But even then, when we reconfigured from 4 lanes to 2, it worked out perfectly fine. And when that project first began, you know what I did is I researched as much as I possibly could in all the online literature that I could. And I couldn't find a single negative article that talked about detrimental impact of streetscape renewal, not one. So if anybody can find one, please let me know. But at the time, I thought, well, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. I live here. I don't want to have anything bad happen in my neighborhood. Let's objectively learn what we can. I couldn't find a single article that said a new streetscape was a bad idea. Yet a few business owners and a few relatively vocal opponents of the project who kind of thought traffic would be negatively disrupted came out and said, traffic's going to be horrible. Well, if anybody remembers the traffic before and the traffic now, it's not so bad. Didn't hurt. And we've got new sidewalks, all kinds of new amenities, a new park at the end of the street. It turned out to be a phenomenal project. If anybody doesn't like the project, I'd like to know why and maybe what their issues are with the project. And I think even the business owners who were originally objecting, they all came around. So if you talk to our friends that own La Bodeguita or Maiko, who's on currently, that owns Tarun, I think most everybody kind of gets the idea. The only thing, Greg, that I would say that's important, and I think everybody had a measured response. We all want to do it. It sounds like a great idea. There are going to be some people, I read on the forum, somebody by the name of Esme who had a bunch of problems with it. You're going to hear those problems. No, because it's going to affect traffic. It's really not. It's probably not. People will find another way to get to where they're going. It's pretty easy. Although we're building a new parking structure and that may change things. For people who want to only drive and only get to where they're going, get in and get out fast, yet they might be inconvenienced. For those of us that want a place in a community, a place to take our kids, a place to enjoy, a place to go outside, a place to recover from this goddamn pandemic, that's kind of what we want. I don't necessarily, I live on the street, so sorry if you don't. I don't necessarily need to drive up, get in and get out. So anyway, I'm excited about this. I think a measured, thoughtful approach to it. I think the comment about parklets was a great one. I think some of the business owners would take certainly take parklets. If we couldn't actually shut off the entire street, then maybe parklets. I don't know if the business owners are going to have enough time to buy all the furniture, and maybe Greg, you can let Maiko speak, to close off and fill up the street. I don't know. At a minimum, parklets I think would be a great idea if we were to keep traffic. And if not, I love the street closure idea. On Cal Ave, I think you only need to close it from El Camino to Birch. And I think some signage, and I think people will figure it out. So I'm all in favor. And I think I'm speaking personally, although I am president of Palo Alto Central and we have about 250 people who live here. I'd say the sentiment is pretty high that we do this. I haven't gotten an official statement from other homeowners, but we're all pretty much in favor, I think, sentiment-wise. So,
thank you, Todd. Maiko, do you want to speak? Followed by Ian. So, Maiko, I think just quickly introduce. I think most people know your restaurant, Tarun, but maybe some people don't.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me again. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
I'm at home. So I saw the article on Palo Alto Weekly, and
I'm on a call for Palo Alto
Hi.
City Council.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Hi, guys. Thank you. So we're just excited. Anything, guys. Anything is possible. I will repeat probably the same thing I said many times. More tables, more business, more employees. I don't think, like Todd said, it's going to affect so bad traffic. We see on Sunday morning people gets around. The only concern, I don't know if you are aware, tomorrow we heard from Kara Apple that there is a Zoom meeting talking about what to do. One of the concern, how do we decide how many tables Terun puts outside, how many tables Calave, how many tables Cali, Brioche. So there is a plan about that. I'm asking.
Oh, I think they're trying to figure this out real time. So right now, officially, the county cannot. The county doesn't allow any outdoor eating during the shelter in place. After shelter in place, it should open back up. But I think a lot of those details have to be figured out, and that's part of the challenge.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, Greg, any chance you could speed that up, that'd be great. I think we'd all be in favor of that. But
Are we talking about opening up for all of 8 to 5? Or are we talking about opening up during hours of eating, like lunchtime? 11?
I think right now the proposal is only to have it like from Thursday to Sunday type of situation, so it's not full time. But I want to give Ian, who just joined, a chance to first introduce himself and
Thank you. My name's Ian Temple. I was in the middle of a honeydew project, so gomen nasai. So, my message in a nutshell is probably similar to what others have shared. And oh, by the way, I live in South Palo Alto off of Ross Road. And this whole pandemic has just been so traumatic for so many people. So I'm just looking for an idea of what can we do to accelerate good news, both for small businesses in the case of restaurants, but then also if we have enough space using university or CalAv. I frankly have followed, the guidance pretty strictly because I did not want the virus, and I'm not prone to go out to eat if I'm going to be sitting inside in a restaurant. But if you have tables that are carefully set out, I think it gives a lifeline to these restaurants, and I think it gives a lifeline to so many people that are dying outside of their homes, but do it in a safe fashion. So that's the reason why I wrote to the city council. And Greg, I appreciate you teeing this up. And I probably don't have much to add from what others have already shared. So I applaud the idea. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do is so everyone has a chance to kind of say a few words. I'm happy to answer questions, or if you have comments or other suggestions about this. But so there are going to be a couple of Zoom meetings with some of the business owners on CalAv and University tomorrow that the city's going to have with restaurateurs like Mako at Tarun. And there's a list of stuff that has to be worked out, like who organizes this. We did allocate $300,000 towards this in the new budget. So there's some money, although the budget hasn't been fully approved. There's issues about like how do we handle the street closure, the traffic, the site map, the accessibility plan. The street closure site map is something that the city public works department is going to be doing. The accessibility plan, the furniture and hygiene, security, that also be done by the individual businesses. Notification marketing is something which is going to be shared among the city as well as individual businesses. The food.
Hey, Greg, this is Todd again. What time is that meeting?
It's not a public meeting. It's only for the business owners.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's I think they're holding them separately for university and CalAv. I think there's two separate meetings.
Okay.
So staff is holding it directly with the restaurant owners, and the food handling and permits is something that the individual restaurants and the county department are going to deal with, because the county does have to okay this. By the way, I did chat with Joe Smidian, who's on he's our district supervisor, and he understands the situation. So they're trying to kind of get everything smooth. In terms of alcohol out on the street, that's the individual restaurants plus the ABC, which is the alcoholic beverage control. That's run by the state. There might be some stuff about animal permits if people bring their dogs or whatnot to things. The toilet facilities, the garbage, has to be done by individual businesses. In terms of fire emergency access, that stuff is kind of being figured out, and insurance also has to be done by the businesses. So there's a kind of suite of stuff that we're trying to figure out real time. Right. I think the real impetus to this is, as someone talked about before, is restaurant margins are really small, and as you reduce the capacity of restaurants, it makes most restaurants non-viable, right?
Yeah.
And so so what this is trying to do is trying to give them space to be able to still have business. And
Greg, why are we limiting to Thursday to Sunday?
Yeah,
a lot of restaurants aren't open on Sunday, incidentally.
Yeah.
So why not Monday through Sunday?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And I might add to that from the consumer point of view. And I bring, I have business. We need to stop by and we have a coffee that was convenient. If you need to set an expectation that it's always there, build the idea that if people, and I don't see how a business is going to tote all their stuff out, their umbrellas, put it away. It seems ludicrous. Actually.
Yeah. So it's a good question. We haven't had an official council meeting on this yet. I was trying to bring this up during one of our COVID-19 discussions, but that got canceled, so I didn't get a chance. And I brought this up a couple of times, but we haven't had a full, real agendized meeting on this yet. So I'm just thankful that staff is moving this forward. So right now it's basically staff trying to think about what council would want based on the community input. And again, this is the fourth meeting I'm having on this topic. So I think there's been a lot of outpouring of interest in the community for this. The details have to be figured out. And that's something that staff is trying to figure out real time. I know that a lot of restaurant owners are putting big time right now in terms of trying to open up because of the shelter in place. And so time is of the essence because they're literally, I know restaurant owners.
But why was it even suggested be only Thursday through Sunday?
It wasn't a council decision. It was, so far it's been very staff driven, and so it may be open up more. So I think to what Rich said, it's kind of a lot of pain to bring stuff out and stick stuff in. So it may be.
Do you think it's
the
possible that it can be done quickly? Is that? I
well,
mean, is it?
Historically, the city has not done things quickly. So
the city's never done anything quickly. I mean,
but this is something that
try getting a permit, Greg. I mean,
yeah. So I think this is something which I think we actually have to move quickly because a lot of restaurant owners, as I was saying, they are on borrowed time.
Right.
They are trying to decide whether they're going to stay business or not. And a lot of restaurant owners are just simply losing money. And I've talked to a bunch of restaurant owners in the city, and a lot of people have closed up shop for good because they just can't survive this downturn.
Hey, Greg, sorry to interrupt. What's the sentiment of the council as best you can tell? Is this a case where if you believe in it, you're fighting somebody else on the council? Because this seems eminently simple to me. I know the details will get worked out. So what's the sentiment on the council?
You know, I brought this up twice, once at the last budget meeting and one time before, but there hasn't been an official agenda topic, so we're not really allowed to talk about it unless we agendize it. Okay. So I have no idea what my colleagues think. I do know that there's strong support in the community. I do know that when I was on a planning commission, so I've been on, before the council, I was on planning commission for many years. I know on planning commission we talked about this, like a pedestrian mall on University and things like that. At that time, there was some concern from the business owners from moving forward because they were worried about losing parking. And then some of the people who live near these areas were worried about traffic going through their neighborhoods.
Right.
This time around, there hasn't been a lot of pushback, but then again, there hasn't been an official agenda item on this topic.
Do you think restaurants are going to be the next step for the county? Do you have any idea? Opening up.
I think the county. So right now, of course, there can't be any outdoor dining or any dining period because of the county's restrictions. But I think when Sarah Cody actually says, yeah, okay, enough of the shelter in place, then I think us as a city should be ready. So we can't override the county health officer. The county health officer has purview right now. So they dictate when the shelter in place happens or doesn't happen. But in terms of being ready, we could be ready as soon as the shelter in place ends. And I know a lot of other cities, from Sunnyvale to San Mateo, a bunch of other cities have already put plans in place to enable this. So I think it's important for us to be ready so that when the shelter in place ends, whenever it ends, we are ready as a city.
And you obviously saw the article in Palo Alto Weekly yesterday saying that it was, Thursday through Sunday, et cetera. So that was based on staff input, not an official agenda on the city council.
Yeah, so it's not been something that council has decided.
Why did staff? Did we know why staff made that input?
I think I don't know. I haven't asked them, but my guess would be they're just trying to be cautious. They don't want this to blow up. They don't want to do this and then people have a lot of angry people. So I think that's also why I hold these office hours, because I'm trying to get a feel as to how much opposition there is to this.
Right.
So far during my office hours, and we try to be open to everyone that's interested on this topic. So far there hasn't been a lot of opposition, but there are people who have expressed concerns about this. So it's not like there's no opposition.
The other interesting thing about this, Greg, for one, whenever I do a proof of concept for my work, I have to set up parameters and mutually negotiate what that proof of concept should ultimately include, right? So I think in this case, this is kind of a proof of concept. And there needs to be some consideration for what happens under certain conditions. Maybe it is a failure. Maybe there's some reason to go back. Probably not though, because it doesn't, like you said, seem to be a whole lot of opposition. But I think ultimately, if kind of carefully thought out, but kind of quickly, we can sort of figure out if it's a go, no go. pretty quickly. I don't know if you guys caught it. I've been walking around on California Avenue. It's post farmer. Whoa, that's post farmers market traffic right now, but there's really not a whole lot. Somebody got a call. So I'm looking at the paint store, and I know that they would be somewhat inconvenienced, but even at the paint store, they have a back entrance. You know, the city would have to figure out certain affordances for businesses like the paint store and a few others that might need some help. But all of the rest of the other businesses around here could be accessed from the backside of the building. So
well, if we opened it up if we had it closed down from 11 to 2 and 5 to 10, the paint people would get used to the idea they have to go get their paint at hours when the restaurants aren't there if they want to drive right up to the restaurant, right?
Yeah, but that includes the city having to mobilize resources to put barricades up and take barricades down, and that also means the rest of the public has some good PPE on the sidewalk. Thank you, everybody, for leaving your. But yeah, I don't know that would work, but it's worth discussing. But here's the area that people who access the paint store can just simply go in the back. It's not that hard.
Actually, I'd love to ask Mako, as a restaurant owner, you run Tarun, so how would you feel about having to lug your stuff in and out on the street, like $20 for their kids, you know, twice a week or so, basically? How that? I mean, is that doable as a restaurant owner?
I would say it's doable.
It's doable.
It's doable. We kind of do already with private events and parties. Since Terun is one of the lucky restaurants that has a back patio. As you know, probably like Gin Show too. They don't use it too much, but Terun, it's very intense back patio. Yeah. So we'll be okay.
Michael, you could basically, Michael, what you're saying is you could adjust for the benefit of having the extra outdoor seating. You would make whatever adjustment necessary.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're desperate guys. We are very afraid of whatever the city will do for us will be great.
Yeah, so I think whether this goes 24/7 or just partial time, I think staff is probably thinking about, and I haven't talked to them, so it's a total guess. I think staff is trying to be cautious and try it on a smaller basis first and see if it works, and if it works, they may expand it. But I think that's what they're trying to do. But then of course, you know, maybe other restaurant owners are like, no way can I.
So Greg, part of that $300,000 budget could be used for city to put the barricades in and take the barricades out.
Yeah, so some money would have to be allocated for that, right? For traffic control and stuff like that.
That's for you, Michael.
Yeah.
The city doesn't put the barricades out there for farmers market, do they?
I don't know who does that.
I don't think they do. I think the farmers market does it.
Yeah. It's the association that does the farmers market. In fact, they're taking up the barricades right now, I think.
So the barricade issue could be worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there has to either be association or some sort of city person or somebody would have to be responsible for taking this stuff in and out, and also policing it, right? So I think Mako also brought a good question of like how far can a restaurant spread, right? And so maybe one restaurant would say, hey, I want to get that area. Should we just area in front? So there's some details that need to be figured out.
Yeah, I mean, even the other thing, Greg, is like over my shoulder here is access to the parking right through that alley. If you look at FedEx, for example, now, by the way, I wouldn't recommend that you close California all the way, just because after Birch, there really is only one restaurant, maybe two. And one of them is the berry place, the juice place that they don't even have outdoor seating now. So I don't know, but the FedEx, they don't even use the front entrance so that they can control people coming in and out based upon the COVID restrictions. So like, I mean, some of the concern that was already in place around people being able to get right into the business has already been mitigated by having people enter the back anyway.
Sure. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments on this topic?
No, just tell the city that we want 7 days a week.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think 24/7 is a great thing. I agree. I mean, I'm trying to be, mindful as well, but I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I'd vote for 24/7 too. I think that it'd be good to have the signs and the rules be set out clearly so everybody knows. I mean, people will have different levels of comfort at different stages through this pandemic, and so if everything's clear to everybody, they know what they're going to get themselves into. And you could even have little fences in between all the tables. I don't know what you're going to require.
Are you saying you want 24? You want those streets to be walking streets permanently?
One more in favor of it, right here. Sorry, another neighbor in favor. Sorry, guys.
I think that we could probably at least say for the summer or for the next 3 months that we shut down the streets completely and see how that goes. I think that setting up the barriers and because I think that if it's setting up decent barriers and also figuring out how to cordon off tables from each other is going to have some work and infrastructure and some setup and people buying little fences or whatever they kind of do. Not to mention what restaurants are going to need to buy in order to do this stuff, like heaters. Are we going to cart out heaters so you can have dinner in the evening? So there are going to be 100 heaters on the street.
There's going to be some offset for that. And Greg, is that money set aside going to be available to the restaurants directly for things like heaters and fences and acrylic and whatnot?
I don't think so. I mean, it's only 300,000.
Okay.
300,000 doesn't go very far.
That's not going to go very far.
Consultants and stuff like that. So
I just want to say one thing. I don't see how we have a choice here. I mean, there are a lot of businesses, a lot of restaurants, losing money, and the cost to actually rent those places is very high. And I think it's a great opportunity to jump into this and to do something for those business owners, because it's, I'd love to have, half business owners, half, neighbors and talk, and have a forum to discuss it. But I don't see it as we have a choice at this point. Otherwise, we're going to see a lot of people that are going to go out of business. It's going to be pretty barren. Can
I ask, Greg, is there anything else we can do to get it to be a council agenda, like to get it so it can be?
Well, yeah. So there's two ways to get things on the agenda. One way is the manager or mayor puts it onto the agenda, or if that doesn't happen, then we need a colleague's memo. So I've been encouraging everyone who's joined my office hours to call in or write in. And so if you haven't done that, please do. So, I mean, the only part of the colleague's memo is that it takes a long time for this to get agendized. And I think this is something that we kind of need to do quickly because, business owners, restaurants are trying to decide whether they're going to stay in business or not. Because virtually all restaurant owners right now are losing money. And so it's like, how long do I want to lose money? So, but yeah, I would just encourage you to write in, call in. I don't know how other council members feel on this topic because we haven't had a chance to talk about it. I'm hoping that they would be supportive, but I really don't know. So the good news is that the city staff has taken this on going forward, even without explicit council direction. But yeah, so I think if you're interested in this, write in, have your neighbors write in. That's probably the best thing to do. Or if there's a restaurant that you like, right, you can also ask the restaurant owner to basically submit a request. I don't think there's quite a formal process yet for this. But if there's a restaurant you particularly like, you should let them know, and they should probably join the meeting either for the Cal Ave area or the University Avenue, depending on which area they're in. And I think staff is asking for people to put a business plan in place, which may be just simply where are you thinking about putting tables outside, right? Type of idea.
And Greg, one question related to this. California Avenue business owners might have a slightly different idea to do this than University. Is it possible that it's considered maybe one before the other?
I think right now both of them are being considered. So
okay.
So far this is all being done from staff, just based off of all the public input, and there's been no direction from council at this point. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm hoping that, because I know I heard from restaurant owners and residents from both areas who are really interested in this topic. I'm hoping that we could do it in expedient. I'm hoping that by the time the county order is lifted from the shelter in place, that we have this planned out so we could begin. Like, we don't need 2 months of study and
Yeah.
consultation to figure this out. I'm hoping that because the shutdown is supposed to open next week, right? So I'm hoping by that time that we have this in place, and so staff I think is trying to move quickly on this.
Great.
But yeah, so I don't know.
Hey, Greg, I put my sentiments in the chat, just FYI, but thank you for doing this. I think it's a great idea, and thanks for the participation, and have a good rest of the weekend.
Thank you for joining.
Thanks.
Anyone have any other last words before we adjourn here?
I'd just like to say one more thing that I forgot to mention. I also think that and I'll be quick, I think it might be a good idea to pass the hat around Palo Alto and figure out how we can raise, individual funds to help out these businesses. $300,000 is not a lot of money. This is a wealthy city. We can do this.
Yeah, I mean, we did do. There's something I was pushing for early on. I saw Mountain View had a small business grant.
Sorry, Greg. I got to add one thing. There are wealthy members in this city, and it is a large number of wealthy people per capita in Palo Alto, but not everybody is wealthy in Palo Alto. So just making sure that we represent, not everybody has a wad of money laying around with nothing to do. So
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I'll put myself in that boat. But
anyway.
I do know that so we kind of copied the Mountain View grant, which is really for retail, restaurant-oriented type businesses, and it's actually a matching program. So if there's people who are interested, if you guys donate to this program, the city actually will match it, right? So it's kind of a trying to magnify our dollars, because Dan, you're right. The impact to the small community serving businesses is pretty huge, right? I mean, you can imagine most businesses don't have 3 months of buffer to stay in business without any business.
I don't think people know this. That if they donate, the city will match
I didn't know.
it.
Okay, so this is something which I thought. I guess the papers didn't cover it very well, but basically we kind of copied. Well, we basically copied Mountain View's program, which they did about 2 months ago, 2 months, maybe a month and a half ago. And this program basically is I think it's up to $10,000 per business, and it's a lottery. I think over 50 businesses have applied, and the city's also attempting to try to get people to match this, like community members to match it.
Mm-hmm.
And $500,000 is actually not that much. We may probably need more, but I think if there's interest in the community, I don't know the details of how you donate to the process, but I'm sure it's somewhere on the website. But this is something that you could do besides, of course, just ordering from these places or trying to be customers at these places. That's the other way, of course, to support them.
I think we ought to put that on next door.
Yeah.
Not,
I mean,
not everybody reads the papers.
Yeah, so I on the council I hear about this a lot, so it's hard for me sometimes to know like what makes it in the community or not. And I guess this is something that's not really well known.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Despite the fact that the city council website is really super enthralling and exciting, I didn't know that it was there. And don't spend a lot of time on the site. So.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Do you have an Instagram account, that sort of thing, for the city? It may seem.
We do, and actually, I think they did put it on. But I think the thing is that we're kind of like what Todd said. I think a lot of people don't follow this stuff that closely, so it kind of like goes over a lot of people's heads because it's not, maybe the most exciting topic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, Greg, for including us, and we'll if you need any more help from us, let us know.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for participating. I really appreciate your input.
Hey, thanks for holding these meetings, Greg. I know it's a big chunk of your personal time to do it, but we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Okay, have a great weekend. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.